Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome back to the Hospitality Hacks Pro Show. Today, we're talking about Charlotte Restaurant Week. I had the opportunity to visit several restaurants, and we're going to recap the good, the bad, and I hesitate to say ugly. I mean, there was nothing particularly ugly, but definitely some things. There's always room for improvement, right? Right. All right. So let's dig in just a little bit. If you're not familiar with what Restaurant Week is, or if they don't have it in your city, generally it is a span of time, maybe a week or two, where local restaurants decide to showcase some of their more popular items, typically in smaller portions or somehow. What my experience has been somehow reduced in quantity or not necessarily quality, but it's usually a lower price than what the normal ticket price is, right? Um, so I went to three, and it's to help draw in business. Maybe something's a little bit above your price point you normally would like to pay. This is a chance to try a little sample of something, or maybe not that, but maybe it's a combo of items they normally wouldn't offer together, like appetizer, entree, and dessert, or a drink and a shareable appetizer. Or a shareable dessert, something like that. If you go with two people, sometimes there's stipulations on it, so like if one person at the table gets the special featured restaurant week menu item, then the other people at the table have to also dine from that menu. Sometimes there's no restrictions, just like, hey, for $40 you get this, this, and this. Have at it, right? It's usually a smaller selection of items, maybe three to five. It's not the whole entire menu. You can't just pick anything you want off the regular menu. Okay. So if you've never experienced it, that's my synopsis of of restaurant week. And so I had the opportunity to go to a few places, and I'm going to talk about them in the order that I visited them, not in any other, not necessarily from good to bad or anything like that, but just the order that I happened to pop by. All right. So the first one, Culinary Dropout. It's been on my list to visit for quite some time since they opened, recent opening in the Metro Charlotte area. I thought the name was cool. The menu, some comfort food favorites, I'd say. So went there. It was lunchtime. They were pretty busy for a lunch. There was about a 20-30 minute wait. We walked in. It was me and two other people, so it was a party of three. And there's like three or four different entrances, so it was difficult kind of to know a little bit where we were supposed to go because we'd never been there before. So we came in off the, I guess, front, one of the front entrances off the street parking, but thankfully, the one of the bussers was right there to guide us in the right direction. He was pleasant. Hey, welcome in. Da 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 da. Pointed us toward the front. Said someone will be right with you. Thank you so much. Right. So went to the front. They told us there was a wait. We did our little whisper thing. Do you want to wait? I don't know. Do you want to wait? Well, how long? 30 minutes. Okay. So put our name on the list. They had an electronic text reservation system. So you give them your number, they text you when your table is ready. That's a good way to get people's information too, by the way. Store it for later use. Um, and so we went to sit at the bar to wait for our table. And that's where things begin to take a little bit of a turn. The bartender wasn't particularly sunshiny at all. She seemed to, maybe she was having an off day, I don't know, but she seemed annoyed almost that we were there. You want menus? Yeah, sure, thank you. Brought menus. Would you like something to drink? Like, okay, we'll grab something to drink. We're waiting on the table. She's like, okay. Ended up ordering an appetizer, and I asked her if she knew how to make a particular type of drink. I was like, you know how to make a Long Beach? And she's like, of course. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, no. Right. It was very arrogant, kind of like, don't test me type tone. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. No offense. Not trying to offend you. It's like some people don't, um, they might not be familiar with it. I found it to be 50-50 ratio. Half the time people know what I'm talking about. The other half of the time people don't. So um I didn't say that part to her, 50-50 ratio, but I was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to offend, blah blah blah." She's like, "No, I try to be on point, da 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 da." I'm like, "Okay, cool." She proceeds to make the drink, of course, incorrectly. Puts a nice dollop of orange juice in there. So it's super acidic. We got the orange juice with sour mix. It's like clashing. It's like blah 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 blah. Right. So um it was a lot going on. Um and just her general it was just her general vibe. Just her general vibe. And the interesting thing was the people around us, I didn't feel like she was giving that same vibe to. And maybe because they were dining with her at the bar and she knew we were leaving. I don't know what it was, but I wasn't feeling it. And it was all right though, because we knew we had table service to look forward to. So finally, about 30 minutes later or so, um, they came to grab us, took us to our table, sat at the table. The server, very sweet, very sweet. She made up for the bartender. And service was on point, very friendly. Did she make suggestions? She didn't really make suggestions per se, but she was honest and open, and we asked about the she pointed to the restaurant week menu, and I actually was like, "Oh, I forgot it was restaurant week because I we just happened to be out." And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. They didn't really tell us much about the menu, but you can order it. It's $40." So it's like, okay. She didn't really have too much to say about it necessarily, but again, super, super sweet. She seemed happy we were there versus the bartender who seemed a little annoyed. And if you see me looking down for my folks on YouTube, I'm looking at my notes because I jotted a few notes on the way out. So yeah, most of the meal was okay. It was a little bit disjointed in the fact that we didn't get our food at the same time, but that was probably partially our fault. One person ordered early, and then I ended up getting the restaurant week menu, which came with the appetizer and entree and dessert and a drink. And so my appetizer came out at the same time as one of the person's entree, and then the third entree was a little bit behind that. And so my entree came last, and so I was dragging a little. So it was, again, it was a little. I don't think that I can blame the restaurant necessarily for that. It's just disjointed in how we ordered, how it was put in. Um, we ended up asking to speak to a manager just to give feedback on our experience. And I will say the server started to disappear a little bit after that. I don't know if she was scared that we were going to say something negative about her or what the situation was, but we couldn't really find her for a few after that. But the feedback we gave the manager essentially was about the experience at the bar, and also the food was just okay. It seemed like every part of the meal was missing a little something, a little salt over here, a little acid, maybe a squeeze of lemon juice over there. The Somebody got fish and chips. The fish was very, 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 very dark. Um, as if maybe the oil needed to be changed. I didn't taste it. But it was just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Now, it being a brand new ish restaurant, I wouldn't say that I would not go back or that it was a thumbs down experience, 1-star experience, but I probably would give them, and this is what I told the manager, honestly, I probably would give them about 6 months and then go back before the next visit, right? Just to give them time to work out kinks with the menu, kinks with the staff, or whatever's going on. Like something was just a smidge off. The manager was doing a good job with coverage. Like he was at the host stand, he was behind the bar, he was doing table touches, he was walking food, he was all over the place doing his thing. So kudos and hats off. Did I write down his name? The server's name was Bell. I don't remember I didn't write his name down, but he was doing his thing. So hats off. Um, I appreciated the effort that I saw him putting forth, kind of keeping everything rolling and clicking on time, right? So, if you've never been there, worth a shot. It's February now. If you're in the Charlotte area, so maybe late February, early March, give them a shot. Give them a little while to keep working on things, maybe. But it was a cool vibe. The fact that they had a wait at lunch was nice for them. I told the manager, I didn't know he was the manager when we walked in, but he greeted was one of the people who greeted us at the host stand. I was like, okay, cool, good problem to have. And most of the restaurant was open. They had one section in the back that was looked like closed. So technically a false wait because there were seats available, but you just aren't seating them. But um, you know, they were doing their thing. They were doing their thing there. All right. So that was restaurant number one, Culinary Dropout. Restaurant number two, again, in no particular order, had a chance to visit Noble Smoke. Um, it's been on my list for a while, and I actually accidentally ended up there because I was attempting to link up with a colleague who was in town um, for not a long amount of time. So I hit her up like, "Oh, what can we connect?" And she was like, "Can you be at Noble Smoke in 2 hours?" Basically, she's like 6 o'clock. I was like, "Let's do it." Um, so it worked out because again, it's been on my list, been wanting to get there. I literally have a list, like a notes in my phone of restaurants I haven't been to yet that I want to go to. So technically, Noble Smoke was not participating in Restaurant Week, but there we were. Barbecue joint, and I was meeting. We had a party of probably a little less than 20 folks, maybe 15, 18, something like that. So we waited a little bit for a table, but the manager kept us updated. Like as soon as you have two options. I have a party room in the back. As soon as they get up, I can seat you back there, or this area right over here in the middle. These folks have been chatting, lingering for a while. They're having a good time. They've been here for couple hours just talking. They'll probably be here a while longer. So, whatever comes up first, though, you're our main priority. I liked that he was upfront, he was communicating, open, honest about the situation, didn't leave us wondering, didn't leave us hanging. Right. So that was cool. Sometimes big parties can be a challenge, but he was working hard to keep us all together. As far as I know, I wasn't the hostess, but as far as I know, he didn't um, mention like, "Oh, we might have to split you guys up" or anything like that, because sometimes that is a solution for managers. Are like, "Hey, if you want to split into two parties of eight, or a party of 10 and a party of eight, something like that." But he kept us all together, and we eventually got a seat. We were kind of just chit chatting up front until something opened up, and eventually ended up in the back party room, which was spacious and a nice area. One of the things I really liked about their menu is they had a platter for, I think it was 120 bucks. That had a combination of multiple different meats on there. So it had like pulled pork, pork ribs, beef brisket. It had some pickled vegetables, which I enjoyed a lot. I think it was like a butternut squash with pickled onions and something else there. I'm a really big and cucumbers. So I'm really big on the briny things, right? So pickles, peppers, pickled onions, things like that. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So I really like that part. The shredded pork was a smidge dry. Everything else was bomb. Everything else was good. They had multiple different types of sauces to choose from in squirt bottles on the table, so you can kind of pick your poison, so to speak. If you like a more like sweet and sour, or if you like vinegary based sauce or you wanted something extra spicy. They kind of had something for everybody there as far as the sauces were concerned. The best thing on the platter to me was the brisket. That it was juicy, just the right amount of fat, paired well with those pickled vegetables. Man, the next if if and when I go back, I definitely know that's got to be somewhere on the table. I do believe everything was a la carte, which that could be a pro or a con, just depending. It can get pricey. So I ended up getting something to go. They serve by the pound. I think I got a pound of brisket, potato salad, and they outsourced some of their desserts. It was like a hand pie, a little hand cherry pie, which looks like a little turnover, and it was $62. And I was like, it felt a little pricey, but also gratuity was automatically included because it was a large party. So, mm, that was about $50. So, before gratuity. So I don't know. That was the only thing I was like, I don't know. The Brussels sprouts were pretty good. If I had anything negative to say as far as service was concerned, is that the servers seemed a little hungry, like not hungry for tips type of hungry to work type of way, but hungry, like they needed a family meal hungry. So one of the food runners came out um when we were wrapping up, kind of like getting ready to go. People had to go boxes because we didn't finish all of the platters. So there's a little bit of stuff here and there, right? We packed up some of it, but there was still a little bit left here and there. And they brought out the desserts, and I think the server rang up one too many desserts, the little hand pie. And so they were like trying to auction it off. Like, anybody else have a pie? Who had a pie? Anybody waiting? Anybody waiting? Nobody was claiming it. So then the runner, I believe she was a server, but not for us. Like, she was just helping run food to our section. But she was like getting ready to turn to leave. And I was like, you know what? I'll take one for the team out because I didn't order dessert. I was like, I'll take one for the team. I'll try it. And she was like, like snapping her fingers, like she was about to tear that thing up. And it was like regretful that I said anything like, oh, she was about to eat it. I was like, oh, well, sorry. Like I'm sure it's on the check. I'm sure we're gonna pay for it. So I don't know. It was a little like, all right. And I didn't think anything of it until it happened again. So then there was a leftover, like untouched side of Brussels sprouts. And like I said, everything's a la carte. So, it was like, oh man. I was like, nobody's gonna take that. Like, somebody take it, right? Put it in a box, right? And so the server the server was like, "Oh, I was about to take it in the back. Let me tell you, it wasn't gonna go to waste." And I'm like, "Okay," because we were noticing, like, "Oh, nobody touched it. Like, nobody even took a scoop out of it or anything that's untouched. Somebody needs to take that." So they just seemed a little hungry. I don't know. Feed the people. Feed the people. All right, give them a little family meal or something. Because it was a little bit much. The second time it was like, okay, like, come on, y'all. Um, Third restaurant. So first one was Culinary Dropout. Second one was Noble Smoke. Third restaurant I had the opportunity to go to was Goodyear House in Noda. Also has been on my list for a while. Um, if you've never been to Charlotte, Noda is one of those must visit places. Um, they're expanding it, which I guess is a conversation for a different podcast, because some areas they're expanding to is like, this is not even, how is this Noda North anyway, but again, that's a conversation for another episode. But Goodyear House, we got there. So Noble Smoke, let me back up. Noble Smoke, that was about 6-7 p.m. on a weeknight. No wait except for us because it was a large party. So rolling into Goodyear House, that was a weekend, I believe a Friday, but it was early, so there's no wait. I want to say it was probably about 4 o'clock, something like that. 4:15 because I believe they open at 4, so it's probably like 4:15. We were one of the first tables rolling in. Um, and one of the things I'm a fanatic about front of the house hospitality. And so one of the things that I dislike is when a guest has to speak first, right? So I believe that if the host, hostess, busser, server, manager, dishwasher, anybody that comes in contact with the guests, whether you're making eye contact, speaking, crossing paths, whatever, we should always acknowledge them first. As part of good guest service. And so one of the things was like, okay, we were walking up and I saw the hostess see us, but she just kind of didn't say anything. I'm like, okay. So then we got a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. So finally I spoke and I was like, hello. Right. And then she was generally pleasant, but it just to me was like that was a missed opportunity to it's like when someone comes to your home, you want to open up arms open. Come on in. Glad you're here. Right. That's the point of guest service. Right. So I was like, okay, missed opportunity there. Sat down. Our server, I believe her name was Tristan, super pleasant, easygoing, also informative, gave magnificent suggestions. This is what I like, hit all different parts of the menu, truly a menu guide, guided us through the menu. And it was good. I ended up that Goodyear House is participating with the Charlotte Restaurant Week. So they had a special selected menu. She seemed well versed in it. I decided to opt. I think we both opted for it. It was a party of two. We both opted for that. It was $50 for a appetizer, entree, and was there a dessert? I feel like it was appetizer, entree, dessert, but dessert is not standing out in my mind. For some reason, I have to go back and look at the pictures. But so super, super great service. The pacing of the meal for me to be so early, and the restaurant to be mostly empty because we were one of the first tables. The pacing seemed a little slow, but it wasn't to the point where it's like I'm looking around desperate for my food or anything. I got me personally, I got the pork collar, which I had never experienced that cut before. So I was excited to try something I never tried. And true to Tristan's recommendation or notes about the entree, she said it really eats like a steak more so than like a pork chop or something like that. And I found that to be true. Now, at first, she said it eats like a ribeye. And then when she came back later, she said it eats like a steak. Um, so steak to me is more plural, like like that could be a lot of things. That could be a lot of different cuts. That could be right. But when you say ribeye, so in my mind, it's like I had something in particular in my mind. Which I guess to me, I mean, it did have a layer of fat in it. That was interesting, but I don't know if I would have given ribeye, but because it was still leaner. So it was interesting trying to pinpoint exactly what it's like. So I see why she would say that actually. But pretty good. I can't really say too many bad things. I appreciated the experience. The manager did stop by uh when we were in between courses. It was a little bit slightly awkward because I didn't recognize that she was the manager right away. So she came to the table, was like, "How's everything going?" We're like, "Good, just waiting for the next course, whatever." Da, 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 da. Oh, okay, but it's on the way. Yep. Mm, Yep. I was like, are you taking over the table? Or I wasn't clear what was happening. And she was like, no, 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 just checking on you. I'm like, oh, are you the manager? Yeah, yeah, I'm the manager. I'm like, oh, okay, hey girl. Like, so it would have been helpful if she had maybe introduced herself coming up. But I appreciated her stopping by. Because that's always nice when you have that table touch from the manager. When you don't have it, it's almost like, what they doing? What are they doing back there? In my mind, what are they doing back there? Because that's just part of front of the houses. You have to talk to people, check on them, make sure they have everything they need, everything's going well, right? Um, what else? What else? What else? I also felt like if I had to nitpick, right? There was a missed opportunity on the drinks, I think. I always used to tell my servers to the quicker you can get the next round to the table, the bigger the opportunity for an additional round, right? So I think there was a missed opportunity there as far as the pacing a little bit. And then the only other thing I could really say was there were lots of kids and lots of dogs. Um, so it started to pick up and get busy as we were kind of wrapping up, getting on our way out. And just because of the area, like what it is, Noda, like I said, is a big kind of attraction. It's a strip with lots of shops and restaurants and people. Right there's a little YMCA right there. People like to walk it, walk the strip and kind of meet new people, hang out. It's that type of vibe, right? So not surprising. We were sitting next to the like outdoor area. So they have inside seating, fully outdoor seating, and then they had this like seating next to the outside area that was still covered, but they had like garage doors that were up, and that's where we were. So there's a few couples with kids, like small infants who babies were getting a little fussy. The dogs didn't bother me at all, but the babies were getting a little bit fussy. Not to the point where it's like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here, but just recognizable. So I would just say that's something I think probably any restaurant you go to in the area, especially if they have outdoor seating, you'll probably get some of that. When and the weather was very nice. The sun decided to shine that day. We had kind of been having some on again, off again rain, but this particular day, I think it was probably high 50s, low 60s. Sun was out trying to shine. So people were out. Okay. Everybody was out. So as we were leaving, I could see that they were on a wait. So it's like, ooh, we hit that timing perfectly. About that 4:15-ish, 4:30-ish. Um, but definitely a good experience. Definitely would go back. All three of these restaurants I would go back. Goodyear House was really good. Definitely would go back and try some other things. I think Chef Coleman, I've had the opportunity to meet him, but that was the first time I have tried his food. And I think he thinks very creatively as far as the menu. So really, really enjoy that. Definitely would go back and be curious and excited to try something else. Noble Smoke. I think it strikes me as like a consistent, like what you're gonna get every time type vibe. Definitely would go back and grab that brisket. Like I said, I would try some other things too. I probably would try the chicken. Um, I saw some chicken come out to another table. It looked juicy, looked good. Um, and then Culinary Dropout, like I said earlier, we started with them. I would go back. I would just give them another 5 to 6 months or so. I mean, weeks. Did I say months or weeks? No, see, I originally said months. And then when I said if y'all go, give them 5 to 6 weeks. Now I'm gonna circle back to the months. I switched it. I accidentally switched it up. Nope. I'm circling back to the months. I'll give them 5 to 6 months. Yeah, 5 to 6 weeks. Not enough time to work out the kinks. But I do appreciate, like I said, the manager was very receptive to feedback. Now, whether or not he relays that feedback to the appropriate powers that be, I don't know. But if they keep taking feedback and keep adjusting and doing what they need to do, um, I see it. I see it for them. And I wish them the best. I wish them the best. What's the restaurant you've been to lately? Let me know. Share. What do you look for when you go out? What are the things that make you say, yes, I would go back, or no thanks? I'll skip that. Find a restaurant week near you. If you've never tried it, I think it's a good opportunity to try some spots you might not normally venture out to try, right? So thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. Next week, the hope is I have some good guests. I've been lining up trying to get these calendar invites together. It's coming up, y'all. Stay tuned. Make sure you've subscribed, liked, shared, followed, all the things. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye.